Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Uncensored Critic podcast. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. It means the world to me. Thank you very, very, very much. And today we welcome along another fellow actor by the name of Katie Matsell. And if anyone's not familiar with Katie's work, let's take a moment to introduce her right now. So Katie is a graduate of both LAMDA and the BRIT School. Some graduates of there include the famous Adele and Amy Winehouse, and has been a part of some of the most incredible things in recent years. Those include short films such as A Punch from the Sun, These Walls, and Angel. For TV, Criminal Record, and Titans for HBO, currently streaming right now. And for theatre, she's done a hell of a lot of work, and let's take a moment to introduce some of that now. So some of what includes The Mirror Cracked at the Millennium Centre in Cardiff, Museum of Austerity for English Touring Theatre and at the National, a recent production of Othello, also at the National, directed by Clint Dyer, who's one half of the Death of England duo, and That Face at the Austerity Theatre, and Suddenly Last Summer, a rarely performed play of Tennessee Williams at the English Theatre in Frankfurt, Clybourne Park at the Park Theatre, produced by the great Trish Wadley, who's also been on here, for which she received an Offie Nomination for Best Supporting Performance for the roles of Betsey and Lindsey. And she's soon to be appearing in Ragdoll at the Jermyn Street Theatre from October the 9th to November the 15th. So go and get your tickets right now. Link is down below in the description. And she joins me fresh from a busy day of rehearsals. Katie, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Tired, but best way.
Tired in
After
the
a
best
long
way.
day. Yeah.
That's what we like to hear. How was rehearsal today?
Yeah, it was good. It's good. Like I was saying just now, we're in that really juicy, tricky stage where it sort of needs to get in the space and in front of an audience. But as an actor, you're sort of going, "Oh, God, I'm not ready. I'm never ready." But it will be, and it's like it's so delicious, that kind of nearly there state.
Yeah.
So it's great. Yeah, it's going really well.
Nice one. It's like that moment where you go, wait, hang on a second. I have to perform to an audience. That wasn't part.
Exactly.
I didn't sign up for this. And he's like, yes, you did.
It's that moment where you go, oh, this is the thing that I trained in and decided to do and have made the decision to do with my life. And now I have to do it. The bit where you have to do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're going, wait, okay. People are actually coming to see this, right? I'm not sure how I feel about this right now.
Yeah.
And you hear them coming in on the first night of previews, the first night, and you're going, fuck.
We
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, here we go again. Oh, mate, it's incredible. No, but yeah, like I said, guys, October the 9th to November the 15th, go get your tickets right now. Ragdoll, Jermyn Street Theatre, get yourselves there. So yeah, but we start at the beginning with every guest. So in your case, Katie, where did it come from? The love of acting and being in this business, where did it come from?
It started pretty early, which I feel is the case for quite a lot of people, but it's sort of one of those things where you're like chicken and egg. I think it started watching my mum. Actually, my mum was in Amdram, and being around those sort of spaces and seeing her on stage and being like, oh yeah, that's really good. Maybe I'd like to do that. Everyone's looking at her. Maybe I'd like everyone to look at me. That sort of thing. And putting on plays for, God, my long-suffering family and friends, and sort of making my family, friends, and cousins like, all right, and you're going to play this part, and you're going to do something more, and then like performing the show, and like all of that. I did Stagecoach when I was a kid and just loved it.
Yeah, no, me too. Me too.
Did you? Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was sort of, invaluable because it really nurtured that sort of growing spirit for it. And then doing Amjam with my family, actually, we all sort of were involved in it in different ways. And I don't have parents who are in the industry or any family in the industry, but creative in their way and being nurtured in that way. So I was incredibly lucky. Not everyone is, but I was always really encouraged, and I think because my parents have that sort of creative side to them, that isn't their vocation or their career, but that they, my dad loves writing poems and stuff like that. And my mum loves, she didn't do it so much anymore, but was really involved in the local Amdram scene. And I think that encouragement really helped me. And I just was pretty dead set from quite early on, like, that's what I'm going to do.
Nice one. Was there like one performance in particular that you remember which made you go, yeah, I want to be as good as that, if not better.
Yeah, and it's going to sound funny again, but I think the first time was watching an Amdram show, and I
Yeah.
watched them. My probably inappropriately, actually, when I look back on it now, I probably was about 8 years old, but they
Oh
were doing
wow.
cabaret, which is always hilarious, right?
Oh
Like, the
wow.
local Amdram group were doing cabaret. It was ambitious, and it was. But I remember being so struck by it and being like, "Wow, this is just. I want to be a part of this. This is amazing."
Yeah.
And I think so for me, yeah, I think it was really watching the people I knew. I knew these people doing
Yeah.
it. Being like, oh, well, if they're going to do it, then I can do it. And they
Mm,
say that I think the word amateur means for the love of something in
mm,
Latin or something like that. I'm showing my ignorance, but like and it is that is the beauty of that. Like that
yeah.
is so pure. And actually, in my professional life, I think sometimes you have to remind yourself of like what it was like to be an amateur, because that is
Mm.
doing it purely for the love of it, and you're not getting paid, you're not none of that. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah, you like you say, like I look back on some of the amateur stuff I've done, and we just did it for the hell of it. I mean, it might not have looked great, if I'm honest. Yeah, there's some shows.
Rubbish. Yeah, but that's what's great, right? Like the willingness to sort of get out there and make a tit of yourself is really great.
Yeah, exactly. I remember like there's some things my parents probably came to see, and now I look back on it, and at the time thinking, "Oh wow, we did such a great job." Everyone was saying,
Yeah.
"Well done," and actually they're going, "That's the polite thing you do to say to people."
Yeah. But like without those people who to come and sit through those early work, you
Ooh.
get to where you get now, and that's sort of the magic of it.
Yeah, like we say, life's a journey. But yeah, but I remember just going up to like my mum and just saying to her, "You came to that show. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry."
My mum would always do the thing of if she didn't like a show that mostly she liked every show I've done professionally, luckily. But if at drama school I can't remember what the play was, but we did a play and she came up afterwards and went, "It was quite long, wasn't it?"
Oh,
I
okay.
was like, I was like, well, yeah, it was quite long, really. Pretty long.
Yeah, oh God, I remember doing a show at university. I mean, it was like we devised this thing. It was by a book called Bluets by Maggie Nelson. I'm not sure if you know it at all, but it's basically about a woman's obsession with the color blue and how she like gets turned on erotically by the color and how it formulates images and stuff in her head. Like a Prince of Blue is one of the characters, and that stuff. Anyway, we devised this show as an hour long. It's all kinds of weird contemporary theatre stuff looking back. And his family came to see him, went up to them afterwards, and I thought, "So what did you think?" And they just looked at us and went, "Oh, it was nice to see you on stage." And I thought,
You're very confident.
"Yeah, you're very good, very good. I loved your voice."
Yeah, the costumes were amazing.
Yeah. And you think, yeah, oh God, there's a great story from Michael Sheen, actually. I've probably told this before, but he said when his parents used to come and see things and they hadn't enjoyed it, they would always still be polite and they always go, "Well, it was interesting,
Yeah.
different." And you're like, "All right, I get it, I get it." Okay, you didn't enjoy it, and that's fine. But I don't go for that. I can't remember. But yeah, so yeah, it's always interesting. Yeah, that the whole amateur scene. You look back on it, but those were the building blocks to get to where you are now, and actually, just have the confidence just to step on stage, knowing that. I know it sounds really basic, but that your lines and you're able to deliver them to an audience. So
Yeah,
you
and
can do
on top
that.
of that, I think there was such a freedom in what people were doing that I still try and borrow now.
Mm.
Like, you know, if you do a panto and there are people just like improvising and like coming up with things, or because, Deirdre's forgotten her lines. So you have to like, and it's finding your ways out of like little spots. Like, and I think I learned that, I saw that, and actually probably learned later that that was something that was really useful, is people just not taking themselves so seriously and
Yeah,
being like,
yeah,
here we are, we're doing it because we love it and it's great and people are watching and it's going to be fine.
yeah,
And that's sort of, yeah,
yeah.
magic.
Oh, it's magic, theatre magic in all different ways. Yeah, I remember doing an amateur production of The Crucible actually a few years ago, and I played Marshall Herrick, and oh, I love that part. It doesn't say a lot, but it's so much depth to him. There are no small parts, only small actors. And there's one moment where he comes in Act 4 and he has to wake up one of the girls on the floor. They're about to be taken away and be killed because they're apparently a witch. They're not, and we sort of blocked the scene where I would say, Sarah, wake up. Sarah, wake up, and then I had to kick the floor, but from the outside it looked like I was kicking them in the chest to say wake up. But of course, it's theatre; it's safe. I kicked the floor. I didn't actually kick the person. And we had this big school group in at the top. I'm surprised they stayed awake the whole time. To be honest with you, I thought they'd probably give up on us, but they didn't actually. And I just went, Sarah, wake up, and I go, wake up, Sarah, kick the floor, and the whole group just went, oh my.
Yes.
And I was just like, a secret, I was going, okay, okay.
It's such a great thing. School groups are great for that.
Yeah.
I was doing a play in Germany, and we had a school group in, and you have no idea like how they're going to respond because, they're a school group, but also a German school group. Do they have different like ways of it? And I had to kiss another actor in it, and this girl about 4 rows back just went, ah! Like screamed. Sorry for everyone's ears, but just like screamed, and it was just the most brilliant thing because you're just like, yeah, that I've never had that reaction before, and it's like, wow. Yeah, it's just great. It was so funny. I
bet. Yeah, I just like it's those reactions you get from audiences that just really stick with you, don't they? Yeah. I mean, there must have been something. Yeah, I mean that kicking the floor and the kids going, "Oh my god!" And I was just like, "Oh wow, okay, cheers, guys, thanks for that." Yeah.
Yeah, it makes you feel a bit like, I did that. That was me.
That was me. Yeah.
Doing that. It's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know about you, but have you ever had like a part where you've got like a line and you know this line's gonna absolutely just laugh. It'll get you a laugh. And like, I don't know about you, but sometimes you deliver a line, you hear the audience laugh. I've never tried stand-up comedy at all, nor will I, because I just can't do it. I can't do it. Yeah. And just somehow I did the History Boys a few years ago with the same company actually, and Rudge has a line where he goes, history is just one fucking thing after another or something. And I remember doing that, and I just, I don't know what, it brought the house down every single night. And I just thought, wow, just to hear you say something and people laugh in that way, it's really something. Have you ever had something like that?
Well, I think, yes. I mean, when I was doing Clybourne Park, that's a very funny play, and there's loads of really funny lines in it. And I was playing 2 characters, one who's deaf and one who's hearing. I'm hard of hearing, so I can sort of straddle those 2 worlds. Okay. And there was this line that the deaf character had where a big sort of trunk falls down some stairs, and it's really loud, and everyone goes, whoa! And my character had this line that was like, even I heard that. And it always made the audience like die. And it was just like this, but that was sort of a weird one because you're like, why are you laughing then? But it was really like, I think anytime you elicit, but that's why we love theatre, isn't it? Because it's live response, and because it's unpredictable. Because you can have those as well where you can get into the trap of being like, this line always gets a laugh, and then there will be one night where it doesn't, and you go, and if you're not prepared for it, you go, and it can really like, but I find those unexpected things throw you into a really interesting place, and that's where like magic kind of happens, because you're not just going, this is the bit that I do where everyone laughs, and then the next, and then it doesn't follow that sort of standard thing when things sort of shift off balance. That's why matinees are great, because they're completely energy. So I love that responsiveness is why we love it, right? Like why audience, and because there's a relationship there between audience and people on stage, even though we're all sort of putting up a fourth wall, depending on the play, putting up a fourth wall. We all know it doesn't exist, and we're all sort of operating under that agreement, and that's why I love it, because it's so it means that we've all made a collective decision on something, which feels really rare in the world these days, right? We've all come under agreement.
Extremely rare. Yeah. I mean, no, it's absolutely right. I remember at university someone saying that it's such, and there's that word ephemeral as well, it's there in that moment, and it's the same play every night, but it's different each night as well, and you're part of that unique night experience. there are some nights where you don't realize it, but sometimes lines get dropped and actors help each other out, and they're like, "Oh, I thought that scene was really good. The transitions were really nice." And then afterwards, you go, "Oh, I'm so glad because we fucked up a line and we had to try and figure it back." And they go, "Did that happen?" I said, "Yeah." Well, we didn't notice that at all. It's fascinating. And I don't know if one last thing before we get to the next question and ask you about your training and stuff. Is there's a great story from. Did you ever see No Man's Land by Harold Pinter? Like any version of it at all?
I've never seen it, but I know the
Okay. Yeah, there was a moment where Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart did a tour of it. They played the two main roles. I was lucky enough to see it in London. It was incredible. Fantastic play. It makes you question everything from start to finish. Even academics can't even decipher this play. No one knows what it's about. Yeah, well, I think we do. I did a whole podcast with it over last year or the year before. And there was one night where one of the characters just gives another character a glass of champagne. And the other character says, you can't drink champagne. It's not even lunchtime. And his friend says to him, the best time to drink champagne is before lunch, you cunt. Like that. And they took it on a tour of the UK. And when they got to Sheffield, the guy said that line, before lunchtime, you, like that. And the place just went absolutely bonkers. They just wouldn't stop laughing. And then... And the show had to stop for, I don't know how long it was, say, of like a good 5-10 minutes. They had to stop. They just stood there and just had to wait for the audience to stop laughing. And then the next line is, "Don't call me a cunt." And then it started all over again. And
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's magic, isn't it? What was going on in Sheffield that night? We'll never know.
we never know. No.
And you'll never get it back. But that's so good because it's so unexpected, right? Like it's fabulous.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. That was amazing.
I think it's on, I'm not sure if it's, oh, it is actually. It's on National Theatre at Home. I don't know if you've got that at all. Yeah.
No, I might get it now.
Yeah. Honestly, it's worth the money. Just get it. Just get it. Yeah. No, that was something. Yeah. We could talk about that for ages. There's so many more stories popping into my head. Anyway, so next question. So talking about, I mentioned in the intro, you went to LAMDA and the BRIT School as well. Tell me about we'll start with LAMDA. What was LAMDA like?
LAMDA was amazing. I was there for 4 years. I did a foundation year just after I left BRIT, and so it was a long time, but I mean invaluable. It's sort of, yeah. How was it? It was just to be doing it all the time, like being with all of those people who were all brilliant, some amazing teachers, and getting this sort of patchwork of like all these different styles, and people are telling you conflicting things as well. So what you hope you realize quite quickly, which I didn't realize quickly enough, was that actually you just take it all in and then you sort of go, I don't need that one now. It might come back to me later.
Yeah.
But it's like there's so much information and so much to sort of grasp onto. I think I would love to have done it when I was a bit older. But I say that, and actually it was probably perfect for where I was at the time, but I think I was so anxious about getting it right. Like, let me get it all right, and I need to do it correctly. And that's actually just it's not a great space to work in. It's the idea of getting it right, because what's right,
Yeah, exactly.
So I think when I see people who go a bit older, I'm like, that's really smart. But I loved it. I had an amazing time. I thought it was just so valuable, and there's stuff that comes back to me now that I haven't thought of in years. Like I'll be like, oh God, what was that thing that person said? And then you can be like to other people that you went to, what was that exercise that we did? And then someone will be like, oh, it was this, or send, I've got a worksheet or something like that. And it's it's just so. I think you can't like underestimate the value of just doing plays as well, like constantly doing plays. And being exposed to different writers, Chekhov and Shakespeare, but also, more modern stuff. It was amazing. I loved it.
Yeah.
Had a really good.
Yeah, it's an incredible thing. You learn, like, I resonate with what you're saying there. You learn all these things. I remember learning actioning for the first time at GSA, and like, I'll be honest, at first I was like, I'm not sure if this works for me. I don't know how this works. But now it's like, oh wait. And then for anyone who doesn't know, actioning is when you're you're figuring out what you're doing to your scene partner by saying a certain line. So, you know, some people, I think there's one famous director, is it Max Stafford Clark, who insisted on actioning every single line. It doesn't matter if it was one word long or a monologue, you know, it was like what you're doing. And to me, that sounds utterly tedious, but, you know, and, you know, but I don't want to do it to that extent. But, you know, you realize you just take little bits and pieces. Like, oh, yeah, that bit helps there. Or that voice exercise helped me to shout that line safely or something like that. Or,
Yes,
or,
totally.
or that Laban exercise of Ring helped me to internalize that emotion, therefore play it better. You know, it's just like it all feeds into each other. You're not going to need everything everywhere all at once. You know,
No.
you need, like bits and pieces, right?
Yeah, it's a toolbox, right? And you've got this, and that's what is so valuable about it. You just have that, and yeah, like you say, you might not want to action your whole script, and you might not want to action the script at all. It just might not call for that in that moment. That might not be what you need. But then you'll do a play 2 years down the line, you'll be like, oh my God, what am I doing to the other person? Oh yeah, here's
Yeah.
my action thesaurus that I bought when I was, 18 and keen, and it's really useful actually. So yeah.
Yeah, it's been kept in a drawer for 12 years, and then suddenly it sees the light of day again. It's like, actually, I need you right now. I need you. I'm glad I didn't throw you out. But yeah, and you also went to the BRIT School as well, with some, like I said, some fantastic and hugely famous graduates from that school in particular. How was that?
It was amazing. It's a really valuable, incredible place, and it needs to we need it because it's free. And I don't know if it still is. I think it is still the only free school. Sorry if I'm wrong on that, but a free performing arts school. And what you have from that is what was so special was, I went from when 16, you can go from when you're 14, but I joined at 16. And you go from school, which was fine. I didn't have a hard time at school. I was quite academic, actually. But you go from a place where maybe being an actor or like enjoying the arts isn't so cool, right? Or like it's not like a cool thing to do or a cool thing to talk about. Not everyone wants to talk about it. And then you're suddenly in this situation with other young people from all different backgrounds who are like-minded and think it's cool, right? To enjoy art. And that was really magic. It's a very special place. Big up BRIT School. Yeah, no, it was amazing. Yeah. It's so important, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, so I don't know anything about BRIT School actually, but is it just singing or is it acting as well? Is it the whole shebang?
They have all sorts of courses. So I went for theatre, that's what I did. They used to call them, I don't know, I mean, it's been a long time, but they used to call them strands. So you could go for theatre, you could go for just music, you could go for musical theatre, dance. And then they also had like interactive media and things like that. I'm sure they've got even more now. So you could go for like design, art and design and things like that. So literally, like not hundreds, but it felt like hundreds of different subjects. And it's a big school. There's lots of students. So yeah, there's all sorts of different things going on. But I did just straight acting for the 2 years I was there.
Nice one. Yeah, it's incredible. Like LAMDA, BRIT School, and like your actor's toolbox must be like overflowing with stuff. Because it sounds like you were training for a long time.
I suppose it's like 6 years, which is probably too long actually. But yeah, it is a long time. But I loved it. Never want to stop doing it, and I'm still learning. I don't think we ever stop learning in life in general, but I also don't think we should ever stop learning as creative people. And every job I do, I learn from the other people around me. So I think I just really like learning in general.
No, that's a good thing. No, exactly what you say. We're always going to continue to learn, both in this acting stuff and also in life in general. There's always going to be things out there to learn and new things to adapt and all that stuff. So it's true. It's a cliche, but it's very, very true. It's a journey. It's a journey, and enjoy it and enjoy the changes and the ups and downs. It's worth it. Anyway, yeah, so I'll just go back to LAMDA just for 1 second before I move on to some of your work. So what would you say was the biggest difference between yourself on the first day of LAMDA compared to the final day, like graduation day?
Oh, that's a good question. I think was just a little bit more awareness of what it actually entails. When I arrived, I loved acting, and I still do. Obviously, luckily, still loved it when I left. But I had this like greater awareness of what goes into it and what and how to. I suppose I was just a bit more refined. You'd hope, a bit more sort of fine-tuned, and the instrument of it was a bit more well oiled, and yeah, just a bit more ready, but also terrified. I was so terrified. You go in, and which maybe I don't know what if that's a good thing. I think it probably is. I think fear is good, and that's fine. But obviously, when you have 6 years of training, which is why I say maybe it's too many, you're so safe in that. You should be safe in that environment, and you're netted, and you're sort of held and given room to grow and sort of bloom, and then you're sort of catapulted into the world, and there's no guarantees that you'll get to do a play every 3 months. Like you won't get to be like, okay, what's the next play that I'm getting gifted a role in? You have to go out there and you have to work for it, and you have to sometimes struggle, and that's scary. So I think I was sort of wide-eyed but more ready than I realized.
Yeah,
That's a long answer, but I hope it made sense.
no, absolutely, no. Of course it did. It was it. No, it's funny. I remember doing self tapes for a production in Guildford, and it was a very rare experience. You're auditioning for something, and you're going to get a part as a result of that. And then and I remember our tutors at the time said, "This is a very unique experience. Don't think it's like this out there in the real thing. You audition for things, and you probably get a recall, or you may not hear back at all. But it gives you that experience, which is good fun. We live in a self tape universe now, don't we? Of just in-person auditions. What are they? Where have they gone?
Yeah, and I think actually for me, it's almost always been that. So kind of because I graduated in 2018. So we had a few. It was a little bit of this was just pre-COVID, which is fortunate because I do feel sorry for anyone who sort of graduated in that time.
Yeah.
Really, really difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sort of always has been that. But I did have a few in person, at least for telly and film. And it is hard. It's hard because you don't get that feedback, and it can feel like you're just sending things into the ether. And
just hello.
Anyone out there? Literally. So
yeah. And then you do get a reply. It's like, hello. You're like, oh, that's the echo from me. Fuck. You're like, there's nobody else. It's just me talking to myself with the wind. Yeah. But sometimes it comes back, but just keep moving forward, like during that time and everything, which is just great. So yeah, let's jump into some of the work you've done. So I want to start with actually, in fact, we'll do a quick plug actually of your most recent, upcoming work, Ragdoll, of course, at Jermyn Street Theatre. So obviously we won't go into too much detail about that because we want people to come see the play. So just quickly, what can people expect from the play, and who do you play?
Ragdoll is a play inspired by the very true story of Patty Hearst, who was a American heiress she's still alive actually, so is an American heiress, but in the 1970s she was kidnapped by a cult of sorts, kept in a closet for several months, and then there were questions around whether she was radicalized or sort of coerced into basically joining them and committing a bunch of bank robberies and various robberies. And she goes on sort of this amazing adventure across time. Eventually she's arrested, and this play explores there's two timelines. So there's 2017 and the 1970s. I play Holly, who is our character, the young version of Holly, who is named the heiress for the sake of understanding. And so that explores the relationship between her and her lawyer. And then in 2017, she goes to visit her lawyer again. many years later, and it's sort of a memory play mixed with sort of scandal and but really it's about that relationship and the sort of tumultuousness and the stickiness of professional slash, but where it goes a bit beyond boundaries and things like that. It's really, and it's brilliantly written by Catherine Moore, who this is her second play. Her first play debuted at Jermyn Street and transferred to West End. She's a brilliant writer. It's very, dialogue is very sharp and snappy and intimate, which is great for that space because Jermyn Street is so intimate itself. So yeah, it's very sort of Succession-y type, privileged people, kind of smart, snappy dialogue, and but with a real emotional drive through it. It's brilliant.
Nice, yeah. That sounds fascinating. Yeah, that sounds a great premise for a play, and actually, it's based on real events as well. So it'll be like, wow, this actually happened as well. Yeah, God, that sounds great. Yeah, I'm definitely going to come and see it now. That's good. So yeah, guys, yeah, go check it out. Jermyn Street Theatre very, very soon. So the next thing I want to ask you about is Suddenly Last Summer by someone called Tennessee Williams, and you did that at, yeah, I don't know if you've heard of him before. But you did that at the English Theatre in Frankfurt, of all places, and of course, anyone who's it's actually not really performed as much. You know, it's not like the Glass Menagerie or Streetcar Named Desire or Summer and Smoke. You know, it's sadly it is one of those ones that kind of slips through, and you know, people may bring it back every now and then or so. But the original film from 1959 starred Elizabeth Taylor and Katharine Hepburn, of, you know, two of the biggest stars of their time. You know, and you'd think that this play would have more stuff to it, but hey, maybe we can lead a charge and bring it back, and it gets that audience which it deserves. You know, it's Tennessee Williams, for God's sake. But yeah, so Suddenly Last Summer in Frankfurt, how was that experience?
It was amazing. It's a phenomenal play. And yeah, like you said, it is rarely performed, and you kind of understand why. It's incredibly dark. Yeah, it goes to a really, really dark place, and requires a lot of the audience and of the actors, but it is amazing the way he writes. And so this character who I played, Catherine Harley, has witnessed a terrible event. Her cousin has been killed, and she's telling the story, and her aunt has her sort of institutionalized and says that's not really what happened, and sort of trying to cover it up because it's so awful. And she brings this character to her house to have her tell the story, the true story as she believes it should be told, and sort of brings this doctor in to be like, look, she's crazy, she needs a lobotomy. And so the stakes are like unbearably high. Wow. and it's sort of hot and yeah, it's really sort of claustrophobic and brutal, but it's a brilliant part and it's a brilliant play. And he wrote it about, we think, about his sister Rose, who did have a lobotomy. So it feels deeply personal, and you know, there's all these themes of sexuality and this cousin who we never see because he's dead, but he's such a huge character in the play, was grappling with his sexuality and all of these things. And it sort of feels like a play that Tennessee wrote about from a place of slight self-loathing, like a place of kind of, you know, I mean, it must have been impossibly hard for him, like really struggling with almost all the worst things that he thought about himself and at that time. I think it does come up in one of his biographies, and it's really fascinating and sort of all manifests in this character and what happens to him. And it's tragic. It's tragic play, but it's so beautifully written, of course. And the thing that's great about doing Tennessee Williams is that he writes these women, these rich, fantastic women that so few male writers manage to sort of
it's true,
really fully encapsulate. And the character that I played, and then there's an older female character who plays the aunt, and they're just sort of these powerhouse characters that have so much going on. It's just a gift, really. It was amazing. And then being in Germany, it's like it's a really great theatre, they really love it. They, and it's all English speaking
Hmm.
plays that they do. It's the English Theatre in Frankfurt, and they really love it. And weirdly, they really love Tennessee Williams over. I think they study him at school or something, so everyone comes. But what was kind of great about it was that you're, I mean, how to put this without sounding rude? I don't mean it in a rude way, but like no one that has an effect or impact on my career saw it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no like, oh God, that casting director from this place is coming, or that
Yeah.
people are in. It was just doing it, almost like what we were talking about earlier with that Andrew thing, like just doing it because you love it and
Yeah.
to affect an audience. So it kind of gives you this freedom that's like, I can just do it and I don't have to worry about any of the other stuff, which is how it should always be. But I think naturally you do just have all those other things when you're in London or you're somewhere else. That was what was the fact that we were doing that play there, just for some reason allowed all this sort of magic alchemy to happen, where it just really like was alive.
Yeah.
Working with Josh Seymour, who I'm working with on Ragdoll, he's directing this play, so this is my second kind of third collaboration with him.
Yeah.
And he's just a brilliant director, sort of forensic and gentle, and just asks the right questions without being prescriptive or sort of, telling you should do it like this. It's just like always nudging you towards a more dangerous but interesting place. It's really great. Yeah, he's
Yeah, I mean, it's funny enough. I saw they brought Streetcar, the Young Vic production with Gillian Anderson back, and that was back in 2000 and what? Oh God, 2014, I think it was. Yeah, it was 2014. Yeah, and the NT Live is screening it. It's on National Theatre at home as well. Actually, it's an epic production. I can't remember who directed it, but it was just it was yeah, Gillian Anderson, Vanessa Kirby, and the other male actors as well. Sorry, I can't remember your names, but it's yeah. I mean, for that way, you do a bit of digging, like you said with Tennessee Williams. Like a lot of, I don't know if all of his plays are like this, but I know Streetcars got a little bit of this as well. That his sister was, I think, from what I remember, he was really close with his sister, and
great.
he like the two of them got on like a house on fire, and when she started to basically get ill, and after the lobotomy and everything, and I think it almost felt like, from reading it and watching videos on YouTube about it, it feels like that's a loss which he never really recovered from,
It
and
haunted him for the rest of his life.
yeah, and I think that's where the depression came from, that's where the alcoholism came from, and these plays, that's where they came from as well, and it's sad to think that such beauty was born out of a place of sadness and alcoholism, and sexuality is a big thing, because I know he grew up, I think, I'm not sure I'm getting this right, but I think when Tennessee's father found out about his sexuality, like he called him like just everything you could possibly think of, called him like a I know you can say it now, but at the time he said like you fucking queer or something like that, or you piece of crap or something like that. I know you can say queer now, but in those days it was considered.
No, it was loaded in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was a horrendous thing to say to a gay person, and there's this. There's so many layers to it as well. How did you find, like, I mean, I haven't seen the play, so correct me if I'm wrong here, but there must be so many layers to not only just the play, but to your character as well. I mean, were you constantly like discovering things like every single night?
Yeah, it was a real gift. And actually just like a weirdly, I think sometimes you have characters where you get them, and I remember getting the audition for this and being like, reading the play and the script, and this doesn't happen every time, but you just go, oh yeah, no, I'm going to play that character. I have to play that character.
Yeah.
Like it has to be me.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen every time, but when it does, you're like, it's gonna be me. and it was. Which is great. Luckily, it's been awkward if I'm like, sorry, I'm not sure if you're aware, but that's supposed to be me.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was like, one of those where it just felt like breathing. Like it was really just brilliant. But on top of that, what's great then is that you just, like you said, you find all these little layers, and in the text is so rich.
Yeah.
And so dense and actually intimidating as well. The whole thing was intimidating. I got the play script, and on the front cover of the play script, it's a picture of Elizabeth Taylor from the film, looking, I mean, incredible in this sort of white swimsuit on the beach, kind of just and just every day you like open your script and you're like, oh, fucking hell, there she is. Oh God. Well,
Fuck off, Liz.
yeah, literally fuck off, Liz. And it was like, oh my God. But then you can go, well, that's hers. And
that's her rendition. This is mine.
And mine will be mine. But it's sort of, yeah, there's so much to find and discover. And then when you get into it, but his plays have such a sort of tumbling effect. Like they just feel like they just start and then they go and go and go and go, and you're sort of on the ride, and you're either on the ride or you're not. And so you sort of have to keep up with it. Yeah, it was really sort of, it was just such a special experience. It's probably my favorite thing I've ever done. I loved it. Yeah, there's so much there and so much to discover. And it's one of those where I probably couldn't have kept on doing it and doing it and doing it, because it's quite like, it's intense. It's like a lot, but you kind of want to, because you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm done yet. Like, I don't know if I've got it yet. I haven't, like, there's got to be more. There's always more. It's magic.
It's like you're constantly finding things, even on that last performance. You're like, is there anything I've missed? You know, and there's some stories of like greats waking up in the middle of the night 6 months after a run going, oh, that's how you play that scene. Damn it. You know, oh, but you know, it's interesting. Yeah. But you know, you mentioned just now about, you said there's not many male writers like Tennessee Williams that can write parts, you know, female parts like that. You know, what is it about? How do you think he's able to do that? How does he write women in such a kind of like authentic and kind of respectful way?
Yeah, I think it's Rose. I think it's his sister. And I think it's his. I think he also, obviously, it's not just that. I think he has he had a unique, observant sort of, and the pain that we talked about. I think he's so in touch with life. He was so in touch with life's pain and life's sort of complexities. But yeah, I think a lot of it is everything that made up who that person was just sort of shines through in those things, and the characters themselves are complex and rich, and not just sort of pretty faces. And maybe as well, I don't know if the sexuality comes into that, but maybe because he's not just trying to cast them as pretty faces, so he's trying to cast them as people, you know, or you know, not just hags or or ingenues, you know. There's more in between, and all of his characters are deeply portraited.
I think just hearing you say that, it's almost like, again, I can't speak for the man, or you know,
exactly.
But I this is a theory I have, so no disrespect to the spirit of Tennessee at all.
Sorry, Tennessee.
At all. No. But the evidence sort of suggests that because he had such a strong relationship with his sister, what we're told anyway, and that you saying that he writes women in such a respectful, vivid, and almost like such a beautiful way. It's almost like, well, my reading of that is that and not only with this play, from what I've heard you talk about, and also Streetcar, which I have seen, is that it's almost like he wants to preserve like his sister's image. It sounds like the love for his sister really, really comes out in his work. And, you know, I feel like, you know, Blanche's, you know, spiral of madness in Streetcar, you know, shows how is reminiscent of how his sister spiraled as well, just to keep her spirit alive and show the world how it's almost like, how can we help each other not get to that point, you know. And it's almost like you're saying, I want my sister back, and this is what I would do differently, or this is what happens now. You, the audience, have to realize, how do we stop this from happening? This is just my reading of it, but
I love that.
Yeah, but his like, how do we stop this from happening? How can we treat one another, regardless of gender, as equal, and not let this happen, you know?
Yeah, there's so much love, and we've spoken a lot about the pain in his work, but there's so much love in it as well. He writes familial love really well, and
Hmm.
love between sisters, like in Streetcar, and
Yeah,
how we
yeah,
let each other down, and how um, yeah, how people are sort of so concerned with image and what's going on with them. So at least in Suddenly, that's what's really interesting about this sort of aunt character who is so obsessed with preserving this sort of pristine memory of her son that she
hmm,
ends up sort of doing it a disservice because she refuses to look at who he really was in the face. And that's sort of so complicated and so true and so, I don't know, so like real.
yeah,
What he was doing was sort of so real, and in the way that we enforcing audience to sort of look at themselves and how we treat the people we love and treat their memories and treat, yeah, yeah.
yeah. I feel like this might be going a bit off track here now, but I'm just reminded of there's two couples in particular from there's did you see the film Maestro at all?
Is that the Bradley Cooper film?
Bradley Cooper, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I heard
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah. It's a decent film. It's very epic. It's a big scene with a huge orchestra, and he's playing Bernstein and all that kind of stuff. But the reason I mentioned that one and Bohemian Rhapsody as well. The between Freddie Mercury and what was her name? Is it? Um, oh no, my mind's just gone blank.
Yeah.
Mary Austin. Mary Austin, I think it was. Yeah. And I mentioned those two couples because, Leonard Bernstein and Felicia, there's a line in the film where Carey Mulligan says to him, I know exactly who you are, but let's get married and let's run with it anyway. Because, the two men in those were either bisexual or homosexual. But Bernstein had multiple affairs with men, even when he was married to Felicia and had children. Freddie Mercury, as you know, is famously for being out of the closet and just being utterly himself.
Yeah.
But the two, I mean, Freddie Mercury has that song "Love of My Life." He openly admitted that he wrote it about Mary. He wrote it about a woman.
Yeah.
And Bernstein's love for Felicia was so strong in that film as well. So either the love of their lives were women, but they were attracted to men, and yet the two of them, the two women, loved each other. That one was married, one was a girlfriend, and they broke up and they were done things, but they always had. But the common theme was that there was love there for someone which they knew wasn't there all the time, something like that. I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just throwing this out there, but
But it's
yeah,
messy, isn't it? But that's
yeah,
sort of so true and so kind of, yeah, yeah, absolutely, like messy love and how complicated it can be, but so pure, and yet, yeah, not conventional. And I think unconventional relationships are always interesting in plays or movies or TV. We want to see those because they make us feel
yeah.
a bit more real. I don't know. Yeah.
I feel like it's like how love is almost like that, and it's not just you see that play out with some like big historical figures, like Tennessee Williams and Leonard Bernstein, Freddie Mercury. It's just love is. I think the message there, like you say, love is messy, and like people think it's all that fairy tale, all sunshine and rainbows. It says, "Oh, we'll love each other forever." There's nothing that can stand in our way.
Yeah.
Not quite the case, really.
Tennessee Williams comes along and goes, "That's naive. Let me wake up." It's not just that.
Exactly. Yeah. I was just thinking that there's a moment actually in Streetcar where I know Gillian Anderson played this moment really, really well. Like her and Stella have this huge like sisterly argument about things, about men, about life, love, blah, 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 and then she's talking really open and candidly about everything. And then suddenly Blanche turns around and goes, "May I speak plainly?" And then suddenly the audience just goes like that. What, you haven't been talking plainly this whole time?
Yeah,
Really?
it's great. And she's like,
Yeah.
"Please do."
Yeah.
Stella's like, "Please do," or something like that.
Please.
Yeah, great
Yeah.
moment.
Like that wasn't candid, just or plain beforehand. Yeah. Was there like a moment in your play where you had that brief moment of, because I know you say it was dark, but did you have those moments of lightheartedness? The audience just go, like you get a laugh, and it's like, oh, we get a little bit of a break now, or something. Did you have those moments, or was it intense all the way through?
Um, I'm sure there were. It's hard to I don't, but it's really like it really is quite it's sort of a
Yeah.
doom ride, but which makes it sound horrible, and maybe it is, but it's one of those where you sort of jump on and you're like, it's quite funny at the beginning. There's like some really funny bits between. There's a big scene at the beginning that's about 10 minutes long between the aunt and the doctor, and there's some really great moments in that, and there are always funny moments in the way that the characters reveal themselves. I think I can't think of anything specific right now. I mean, it's been a couple of years, but honestly, that play really just does go on sort of a tumbling ride down
It's
a
bigger
kind
and
of
bigger.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sort of it all kind of closes in, and you're sort of like, God, I don't know what's going to happen. It kind of builds up to her telling this story, and then at the end, it's sort of essentially a 20-minute monologue of her telling this story with some brilliant interjections from the doctor character, sort of, which is really hard to play because you're, as the doctor, you're sort of there going, and but it's and it was really well done by Jared Garfield, but it's it's sort of a train ride to hell in like a really great kind of alive way, but you can kind of tell why it's not done loads and loads, because it's just a lot. And I think audiences are more than capable of sitting through that, but we don't love not having that levity all the time, and I think we are moving towards a slightly less tolerant for that kind of space, which is a shame. And I think we are more tolerant, but I think in the way that theatre sort of is going at the moment, it's a bit less that kind of world.
Yeah, I think it's like a question of what can audiences sit through now, because I mean there's I've talked about this show so many times, I'm going to bring it up again, which was A Little Life, that was on a few. Did you see it at all?
I didn't see it, but I've read the book, and it is. I probably did, to be fair to myself, probably didn't see it because I read it. But it is one of those where that is.
Yeah.
But people saw it and they loved it from what I understood. Did you see it?
I did, yeah. I was lucky enough to see it. It was spectacular, and I would see it again. But my God, it was intense. It was intense. I mean, I remember I was lucky enough to get a seat on stage, and they said, and they had on stage seating, and so that was amazing. And there was they said at the interval you have to leave the stage because we have to reset for Act 2, and we were like, okay, fine. So we come back off, go up, down, back into the foyer, and I see people coming out of the dress circle, and this was only at the interval, and people were in floods of tears, and people were crying. I remember seeing one girl, she was just like trying to get the tear out of her eye, and her hand was shaking, and I just think, A, Jesus, this is only the interval, and B, it does ask questions, because there were some stories of walkouts and people fainted during some performances, and and it makes you ask the question, like, how much you can audiences, not just British audiences, because they're like, we have stiff up and live about the whole thing, we just get on with it, but like, what can you sit through, when it gets to a point where you're just, and the show was dubbed by some critics as torture porn, and of course it absolutely wasn't. It definitely wasn't.
I mean, the books had the same criticism, so I think there's always people who say that, and that's an opinion, and it may but I think we have scope. I think my personal opinion is that we need people who are willing to go to those places, because
Absolutely.
we need to see the spectrum of human experience. I think that's what theatre's for. I think there's space for it. Do I think it's slightly horrid, and would I want to go and see it every night of a week? No, but I think I think that we should have those.
Yeah.
I think if we don't, I'm not sure what we're doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think if we don't have those, if we don't allow ourselves to go to those places, those sort of dark, seemingly unreachable places, then what are we? I think we're doing a disservice to sort of human stories.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
It's like you can't. I remember David Attenborough talking about when he makes like his big nature shows like Frozen Planet and Africa and Blue Planet, all that kind of stuff. And he said, look, if you take all of it out, you're just telling fairy stories, and a lion, when it catches a wildebeest, it eats it alive.
Yeah.
That's what happens in the animal kingdom as a result of evolution, and then, like you said, the human experience, sadly, in the case of A Little Life, and of course your play as well, there are some people which do have that experience of life, and it's awful and it's shocking, and no one deserves that. No one deserves that whatsoever. But unfortunately, these things do happen, and you've got to just. Yeah, I was speaking to Tom Kelsey, who was actually James Norton's and Luke Thompson's actually understudy in that. We talked about A Little Life and stuff in the previous episodes. An amazing actor as well as a guy, and he told me that after it was over, he never got to do it. They had an understudy run, I think, at one point, but then he never actually got to cover him because James was there every performance. But he said it took me about a couple of months to shake that off after we all finished, and. Yeah, and it was a few months we were just like still getting flashbacks and all that kind of stuff because it was so intense. So that's lead on to my next question for yourself, Katie, which is, as you say, this thing steamrolled in like a train line to hell, like you just called it. How did you look after yourself? See, I mean, on a serious note, how do you look after yourself, physically as well as mentally during such a demanding piece?
It's hard, and I don't know if I've yet got the right answer to that. I don't know that did I look after myself that well? I probably could have done more things, and I think afterwards, like looking back on it, I was like, oh, yeah, that was hard. I think, especially being in a different country and sort of luckily had like a hugely supportive cast and we had loads of fun. And actually, I think having fun is just a big thing of it and being like, oh, it's okay. I think, your body, the thing is, you can go home and be like mentally like, I'm okay, everything's fine. Like I'm Katie again and this is cool. And actually just having that conversation is good. But it also, your body doesn't know that you haven't gone through a terrible trauma every night, so you sort of have to kind of take care of that in its own way. And I think everyone has their own version of that. For me, sometimes it's yoga, sometimes it's going for a run, sometimes it's just like a bath, It's like figuring out what works for you. And I think, I definitely got to the end of that show and I was just like on the floor. Yeah, and sort of it was really weird because you finish a show and then the next day you're on a plane and you're back in England and sort of, oh God, what's going on now? But what it was as well was that the other thing that people don't talk about, I think, is when you're doing something like that, the catharsis of it is so sort of amazing, and you're getting all this, it sort of feels like you're purging something, right? Like you're like, everything that is difficult or something, it all gets sort of hashed out on the stage, and when you take that away, that can be really hard. And that what I wasn't really prepared for, I don't think, was like not having that outlet. So I went a bit nuts for a little while afterwards, and that was a really great lesson for me to learn after after I managed to like sort of pull myself out of it after a couple of months, and was just sort of being like, oh, it's okay. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to be prepared for it next time. But actually, it was more preparing to not do it than doing it. Like. It's hard, I think.
Yeah, and I feel like one thing I've learned from recent episodes actually is like looking after your body and such, because your body's a living, breathing organism as much as your brain. It all works together. This body of ours, and it's true. I remember speaking to Cassandra Woodhouse. She did a tour of Prima Facie, actually, Susie Miller's play down in New Zealand. And she did it again recently as well, and she said like she learned a lot about her nervous system and just regulating it, because like your body doesn't know that there's a attack which happens in prima facie. I've talked about it quite a bit on here. People probably know about it now, but there's an attack on Tessa gets sexually assaulted in the play, and your body doesn't know, even though it's not actually happening. You're just saying words and you're in in the grand scheme of things, you're perfectly safe on stage. And there's a stage manager looking out for you. There's crew behind the scenes making sure that everything goes to plan. And if anything does go wrong, they can rush on and say, right, we're going to have to stop. Just give us a few minutes and we'll go again. Ultimately, you're safe all the time.
Yeah.
But your brain knows that, but your body doesn't sometimes, and it doesn't know if your body is being attacked or raped or being subjugated to all kinds of emotional trauma or disdain, and your body goes, is this actually happening? Is this actually happening? Is this actually happening? And you've got to sit with yourself and, like you say, just have a bath and just say, look, it's over now. It's over for one more night.
Yeah, but your body is sending your brain signals going, help, help, and it's an amazing thing, because we want, your nervous system wants to protect you. So I'm not surprised. That's really interesting. I mean, that play is so intense for any actor, and it's just sort of the actor doing that. I'm not surprised that would come up. It's it's a similar sort of thing with Suddenly Last Time. It's just so so much of your body is required, and you have to go through it sort of. I
mean, it's and how long was the run? How long were you in Germany?
I think we were in Germany for about 2 months, 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that's a nice little chunk of, it's a good amount of time, but it was 8 shows a week, right?
Yeah, something like that. I think actually maybe we didn't do matinees, which was except for a couple for some schools. So maybe it was more like 7. And we had 6 p.m. matinees on a Sunday, which I think is just the best thing ever. So nice. You get it done and then you're like, oh, dinner. Dinner every couple hour. It's such a fun venue. They had Eurovision was on at the time.
Oh yeah.
Enough Eurovision. And and they were like, we're going to have your show early so that we can have Eurovision. And we were like, okay. So they moved our show to start at 6 so that they could have Eurovision on in their like bar. They had this huge bar and it was great. And they were like, we'll be able to save your table. And we were like, cool. Okay. And so we finished our show. It was about 90 minutes. So we finished our show at 7:30 and we were like, Eurovision. It was so like cognitive dissonance to go from doing this like really intense Tennessee Williams play where everyone's crying and shouting and snotting, and then you finish that and then you're like, Eurovision. It was so good.
Hast your vote now.
It was so funny.
Brilliant. I can imagine. 90 minutes of intensive. I mean, wow. No, that's. I mean, in Germany they have these. Well, they don't have pints in Germany. They've got tankards, don't they? They're like huge.
Right. Yeah.
I imagine I could see all of you getting off stage after a week and just like you sit down and the waiter or waitress comes over and goes, guys, would you like beer? Just like, beer? Yes. Yeah. Just dump all these tankards on there. You just drink them all in one go. Yeah. I imagine. Yeah.
It was great. It's such a great city, actually, which I wasn't expecting. I didn't really know. I sort of didn't really know Frankfurt at all. But it was quite a financy city. Very business centered. But it's great. They've got and I think because it's sort of a business hub in Europe, they've got so much really good food there, and you can also go to so many of these beautiful little countryside towns on just like a train ride away. So on a Sunday, like we could go off and go to the forest or to these beautiful sort of vineyard hills and stuff, and still adventures, and that was just great, and sort of got your head out of the play. But
amazing. Sounds great.
Was
really good. Yeah, I mean, having done that now, do you think would you like to step back into Tennessee Williams at some point?
I'd love to. Yeah. It's one of those that's just like, anytime. Anyone who wants to cast me as Tennessee Williams play, I would love it. It is.
Yeah. Do you think? I can see you. I'm not just saying this. I can see you doing Stella next time. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great play. I don't know anyone who wouldn't want to do Streetcar. It's so iconic.
It's stunning. It's a stunning play. I know it's dark, and I know it deals with a lot of really heavy stuff, but my God, is it beautiful. It's just somewhat
Beautiful.
just
And
doesn't.
I'm not afraid of the dark. I like it's sort of what it's not what I do. I do lots of things, luckily, but it's a space that I'm quite happy living in. As an actor, I find that interesting. So I like it.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to go there.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. I don't know about you, but I feel like the reason why the darker plays can get such a more visceral reaction, they like get the tears or the emotional kind of like gut wrenching punch in the right at the end, is because like with comedy it's like if you go and watch comedy and then like if it's a good one you walk out feeling, oh, that was great, or sometimes or if it's not too good you're like, okay, but it's like you're not really like, you're hamming things up to make it look like the truth, and actually it's like a hyper extended version of the truth, or maybe it is the truth, I don't know. But anyway, the point is that it might not be 100% bedded in truth. Whereas if you go to someone like Tennessee Williams or Arthur Miller or Shakespeare, even you're hearing the truth. And sadly, like we were talking about earlier, sometimes these people are dealt hands which you can't explain, and it's the truth. And his work is so deeply embedded in love for in truth, like truth and love for his sister. Was like showing what society could be if we were just all a little bit nice, if we're all nice to each other.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And I think there's so much um, about art, like trying to answer those unanswered questions about human behavior, right? We all, that's why we go to art, that's why we turn to it, right? We want to understand ourselves and understand other people and why we treat people, or people treat us in the ways that we treat each other. And that's like what's exciting. But it's really interesting what you say about comedy. I can't remember who it was. Oh, did you watch The Last of Us,
uh,
the TV show?
no, unfortunately not. It's on my to watch list. Yeah, but I've heard good things.
Um, yeah, there is an actor. Oh God, his name. Is it Nick Offerman? Nick Offerman, who's in Parks and Recreation. I think that's his name. Let's hope it is.
Yeah,
He was, plays a very funny character in Parks and Rec, and he was cast as this very serious sort of tragic but like beautiful, emotional character in The Last of Us. And I think it was Craig Mazin, who's the creator of the show, or
yes, yes.
co-creator.
Chernobyl creator as well. Yeah,
Yeah, amazing creator. I think it was him was saying, and maybe on his podcast about The Last of Us or somewhere, he was saying about the fact that, people were surprised that he wanted Nick for that part. And actually he said something about that people who are really good at comedy in that way understand the absurdity of life. And that's why he knew that he'd be able to do the darker things, which I think is just like a really great way of putting that. Like it's just brilliant. Like you understand like that this actor clearly understands the absurdity of life, and I just was like, that's really brilliant.
yeah,
Like, oh yeah, what a great way of putting it.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
brilliant. Yeah. Well, it sounds like one hell of a job
Yeah, it was, yeah.
that you did, And yeah, what was the German? Just one last thing on this one, actually, which is going to move on to one more thing before we finish. Um, the German audiences, what was their reaction to this thing?
They were sort of perplexed, but in like a great way. I mean, they were really like listening, and actually, obviously, you're doing a play in their second or third or fourth language, and so the intensity of the listening in a room was really like, like really deep and delicious, and they, we had such a wide range of reactions, but they seemed to love it, and it was really nice. And they were very like, I think they've got a very loyal audience at that theatre, and because I got loads of messages from people about the play, which doesn't really happen here. Maybe because I think in England we're a bit shyer as well about telling people how we feel about their performances.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
like I was getting these messages being like, "Oh, this is what I thought of the play, and I thought that you were really, really good, which is really nice, and or you were this or you were that." But mostly about like responding to play. Like I felt really like moved by it, and the physicalness of the piece or stuff, and they would like comment on that, and I find that really interesting. I don't think we do that very much here. I mean, I'm sure some people do, but I think in general, the way that things have sort of gone is that people find it not very cool to like say that we like things or that we like admire, and they're like, oh no, that's not cool to talk about the thing that you like or something like that. Um, but yeah, they were lovely. They were really sweet audiences. It was really valuable. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like if yeah, like you say, like over here, it's like, oh yeah, well done, very very well done. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah. Whereas in Germany, it was like, yeah, I enjoyed it, but I didn't like this.
Yeah. Well, exactly. They're honest as well, so it was great. Like I didn't understand. I didn't understand what you were saying. You're like, okay,
Yeah, cheers.
tomorrow I'll make the accent a bit clearer or something like that. Yeah, it's like honest feedback that they're really sort of thoughtful about it, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine
Yeah.
like if someone from Germany comes up to you and goes, "Wow, I love that," then then you're like, okay, right.
Yeah.
And these people do not bullshit.
No, but it was great as well because it wasn't just you had a lot. I would say probably like 60% of a German audience, but because of where it is in Frankfurt, that it's such a sort of hub, you also have all these other people from all over the world. So you have Americans, like actual Americans, Canadians, like people from everywhere popping up. So
Mm,
it was nice. It was multicultural as well, which was sort of lovely.
nice. Yeah, sounds great. Well, it sounds like you did a hell of a job on this thing, and congratulations on the success of it and everything. I look forward to seeing your next Tennessee Williams appearance. And I can see it. Stella, let's do.
All right, we'll put the bet on.
We'll put a bet on. You'll do Stella
Yeah.
soon, I promise. So I just want to ask you very quickly, just before you shoot off, about Othello, because it was a brand. It's sort of like not a brand new, like what's the best way to say it? It was like a very different kind of telling of it. It was staged a little bit differently. It was much more like physical. I'd never seen a kind of physicality to an Othello production before. What was it like being a part of that?
It was amazing. I mean, I feel like I've said that for every answer, but it really was like
Yeah.
it felt really important in a way. And Clint is so smart and sort of such a leader in a sense that's really easy to get behind him. And it just had the most incredible cast. Giles Terrero is playing Othello, and he is just sort of this
He's brilliant. He's
force. I mean,
brilliant.
yeah. And you have Paul Hilton, who's fabulous as Iago, and Tanya Franks as Amelia, and they sort of reimagined that as to be a sort of domestic abuse situation between Iago and Amelia, which just worked beautifully, sadly and tragically. And Rosemary Kuhn as Desdemona, and she was sort of this fierce Desdemona, which you don't always see. But the way that Clint sort of, I might get this wrong, so I hope I don't get it wrong, but as far as I'm aware, and from what I remember, Clint was the first Black director to direct Othello on like a major London stage. And I think as well, the first Black director to direct Shakespeare at the National. I think I could, one of those might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're both right.
Yeah, yeah.
And he had this sort of vision for it that was like, this is an Othello for 2022/3, which is when we did it.
Hmm.
And his idea behind it was this ensemble, which I understudied Bianca, who's the sort of lovely kind of prostitute-ish type character who the Cassio sort of lover, and who gets involved in all the handkerchief business. And but
Strawberries, yeah.
yeah, spotted with strawberries. But he envisioned this sort of ensemble that were always present and kind of represented, well, he called them the system. And the system sort of represented the systemic racism in the society that the play takes place in.
Mm.
And also as a sort of manifestation of Iago's mind and what's going on, how he uses that system to kind of power him on his sort of quest, and so we would respond physically to his and at some points Othello's sort of choices and decisions and stuff. So a lot of Iago's soliloquies were filled with us sort of responding, and he could sort of interact with us, and only he could really see us. And then as the play kind of goes on, the fellow starts to descend into this sort of downward spiral. He starts to notice the system that he didn't really notice before. He was sort of always affected by it, but kind of starts to get pulled in, and it kind of makes it all feel a bit tragically inevitable. And then at a certain point, which I think kind of came up through organically through rehearsal, maybe the workshops that they did before we started rehearsal, was that it kind of then shifts into a story about misogyny. So it starts and continues and does obviously end as a story about racism, but then also shifts into a story about misogyny and about, you know, these women and what happens to them. And the way that the scene between Emilia and Desdemona sort of came about was so moving, especially with the sort of reimagined domestic abuse situation. It was just, it was such an amazing experience. Because, and I did this just before I did Sunday last summer, so I went from sort of understudying and being in this part of this system thing, but what it meant was that I was on stage every night, watching and responding, you know, physically, but you know, and I got to do a big drunk brawl scene that I was in there. Yeah, you got to fight all the boys. Funny story about that actually was that I remember we were choreographing that fight. It's the fight where Cassio sort of gets drunk and.
Yeah.
Iago gets Cassio drunk and then he starts a big brawl.
This is my my right hand.
Yeah. And it was me and a bunch of boys, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna do it for the girls. And then we'd like doing it. And I remember doing like a kick and really pulling like my glute or a muscle in my butt, but I was like, I can't let it show. I'm not gonna let it show. Nope. I'm just like, my teeth through it. I was like, I'm not gonna be a wuss. It was so funny. And it was fine, luckily. But it was just like one of those things. Yeah. But what was so amazing about it was getting to watch these actors just under the direction of Clint. He had this big banner up. Sorry, I'm sort of all over the place. But he had this big banner up that said "Agents of Change" in the rehearsal room, and it just really felt like that. Like it really felt like something special was happening, really magic and important. And I don't know, it just was really. He really dared us to go to places that were uncomfortable for us in a modern setting, but are true to the world and true, you know, it's all about, I feel like we've gotten really heavy. I guess I've just done really heavy stuff.
No, it's great. Bring it all.
It is true to the world that we live in. And yeah, it was just watching sort of Giles and Paul and Rosie and Tanya do all this like amazing work every night. It was just like, it's so like, you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe I get to do this. Like, I can't believe I get to sit here and watch these people turn a different sort of performance that's valid and magic, and sort of see them sort of just receive and grapple and then like throw something out every night. It was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the play. I mean, it's not only because it's Shakespeare, but there's so many things that go through it. It's like you say, it's misogyny, it's racism, it's jealousy, it's assuming something without evidence. You know, Iago has that fantastic speech. Thus do I ever make before my purse. You know, it's just thought abroad that twixt my sheets he's done my office. Yeah. Like i.e. his wife. It's thought that he shagged my wife, but I know not if it be true. But I form a suspicion in that. I form a suspicion that fact will do as if for surety. And you're going, so you're gonna betray someone because you think you know something's happened, but you don't have any evidence for it.
Doesn't that feel so true? Like that feels so. I mean, especially now, the world we live in, and how information is shared and and people are so quick, you know, to make a very snap judgment. I almost feel like I can understand it more than I would have 10 years ago or 5 years ago, even maybe even more now today in 2025 than I did in 2022. And it's really, I mean, I think some people struggle with that in the play about how easily Othello kind of believes it, but I think we all or Iago even. Sorry, that's Iago. My sheets. but if you, and I think this is what Clint's production really leaned into, if you as systemically are trained to believe that a certain person of a certain race or a certain person in a certain position, that we are all supposed to be in these positions and this is where we're supposed to sit and fit, then yeah, I think you would.
Yeah, and Iago is I've done a previous episode with Sarah Spring from New York, who's a Shakespeare enthusiast and stuff. Fantastic person. I think I mentioned at one point Othello should be called Iago because Iago has all he's the one who talks to the audience the most, and you're somewhat complicit sometimes because you're following this man's dark deeds, and watch me as I fuck this man's life up and fuck his wife's life up as much, and Cassio as much as I possibly can, and you are going to follow me and you're going to watch it happen. So let's go. And it's like
you're involved, you're part of it. And
I mean I think some you can definitely see that the racism in it at all, because it's ultimately you're bullying the black lead, yes, as such, and and
I think that's a lot of what it's interesting what you say about and that people say that the play should be called Iago, and I think that speaks to a lot of that actually it's not often, it doesn't center the black experience of Othello in the play is often what happens in productions, because people go, it's a play about jealousy or it's a play about this. And I think for Clint, I don't want to speak for him too much, but I think what he was saying to us is that no, this version is a play about race and about the fact that there is a black man being pulled down, and on top of that a white a woman, and the fact that they are having a radical relationship in the society that the play is set in. It was really he, for this production, centered that experience really sort of beautifully, and Giles just was electric.
Brilliant,
and held that space, and
there was and of course Othello has, when he's killed Desdemona, sorry, spoiler alert, but it's a 400-year-old text. I think we should be all right.
I think we're fine.
I think we'll be okay. But when he's killed Desdemona at the end, he has that plea at the end when he realized what he's done, and he has that fantastic line which says, "Wash me and steep down gulfs of liquid fire." And you're going, even in Shakespeare, when someone's in the depths of hell and realizes that they've made one of the worst mistake of their life, you're still going, wow, look at that language. That's incredible. Yeah.
It's a beautiful play.
It's beautiful,
obviously.
Stunning.
But it's and it's I think it's one of the more accessible ones to a modern audience, because I think the language is a little easier to access than some, and the story feels weirdly I think familiar. I think the characters are relatable, and it's just you're like, oh god, this is don't do it, and because I think because of that complicity that you mentioned, it's like you're sort of as an audience going, but just no, stop the handkerchief thing. No, just stop.
Wait,
think about it.
Wait, are you sure you've thought this through? But again, it shows that these stories still, even Tennessee Williams, I know it's much more recent than Shakespeare and stuff, but it shows that these stories, even 60, 70 years after they were written, or 400 years after they were written, they're still saying stuff about society then, and it's still saying stuff even now, and it's the power of these writers is just it's just it's magnificent. I mean, I've probably used every word under the sun to praise these two writers, but it's, what else can you say other than they're just masterpieces? And
and you just feel extraordinarily privileged to get to speak their words, and try and understand them. Because what's great about the play I'm doing now is that it's new writing, and we have the writer there alive, alive, and you can go, what am I trying to do? What does that mean? And then you go, oh, Catherine, what do you mean by this? What's she thinking? Or is this like, do you think that it's like this, or is it like this? Am I doing this or that? And she, you know, not all writers are like this, but she especially is very like, oh no, yeah. And this is what I was thinking at the time, and has like all these obviously ideas about the work that she's written.
Yeah.
While obviously these classic texts are so amazing, but you're imposing something on it. You have to impose something on it, because we don't know. We don't know what Shakespeare meant when he wrote Othello. We don't know if he intended Othello. Obviously, it's written at a certain time. We don't know if he intended Othello to be a laughing stock, or if he intended for us to feel sorry for him. We can sort of infer from the language and what happens, but we will never know. And that's sort of the magic of it. Like as well, is that you're just going, well, my best and nearest guess. And I hope it's right.
Yeah, no, it belongs to us, you know, it's our interpretation of it. Obviously we know the foundations of it, we know the basics, but you know, it's ours, and that's brilliant. It's ours to play with and have fun with, you know. And you know, don't get me wrong, there are some productions out there which do Shakespeare. I'm like, if you ever touch this text again, I will hunt you down and I will kill you, because you've just ruined it. Whereas some people, like, you know, like your Othello, and you know, I know Nick Heitner's done some incredible Shakespeare. Now, his Othello at the National over 10 years ago now, that's on National Theatre at Home as well. Yeah, they're not paying me for this, by the way, National Theatre. If you're listening, I'll do paid promotion for you. But that's on National Theatre at Home as well, and that's just stunning. I remember watching that at the Archive actually in London. If anyone's stuck for something to do one day, get yourself there. It's just fantastic. I just remember sitting in my seat afterwards going, what the hell have I just seen? That was beyond beautiful, beyond devastating. Oh, fantastic stuff. Yeah. Katie, this has been so much fun. Obviously, I could have you here for another 2 hours talking about Shakespeare and Tennessee Williams. I really, really could. But yeah, I know it's getting late in the night now for us over here in the UK. And, you know, thank you again for being so generous with your time. I know you've done a busy day of rehearsals today. So, yeah, brilliant. Oh, yeah, no, but there's more to talk about, but we'll do that another time. But Part two, exactly. No. Let's do this again, man. I'd love to have you back. So I just got 2 quick fire questions left for you today, and then we can go back to our evenings here in the UK. So first of the 2 is, what would you say was a bit of advice you wish you heard when you were starting out?
Oh, very good. I think there's quite a lot, but I think if I'm going to go off instinct, it would be don't make it your life. And I don't mean that in like a don't care about it. I mean that in like a fill your life with other things. I think I'm still learning that and still trying to figure that out for myself. But when you really love it, it's really hard to just like not obsess over it and want it to be everything. But actually, as actors, as performers, as artists, we all need to fill the well, right? You need to fill the well with other things, and it can be so easy to get bogged down in like, when's my next job, or what's the next thing that's happening. And I definitely have fallen into that trap many times.
Oh, so we all have, yeah.
Yeah, because we love it, and that makes sense. But actually, yeah, that would be number one, I think. Find some other shit to do.
Yeah, find some more shit to do. Yeah, don't make acting like the only thing, you know. And there's that brilliant, I can't remember who said it, but you know, you don't have to stay in your lane. Obviously, acting is like lane number 1, of course, but there's also other things that you can write, you can direct, you can do all this. Don't stay in your lane, and you know, build like a portfolio of skills. You know, start a podcast or something like that. I don't know, but you know, just have skill set. Don't like be too tunnel vision. It's either acting or I die, and of course, you know, that's not the case. Yeah.
Also, the other things that you fill your life with don't need to be things that succeed, right? Like you don't need to write a play so that you can be in the play, or write a play that goes to Broadway or anything. Like, you can write poems that you put in a back drawer, like, as long as you are fulfilling that muscle of I need to sort of observe the world and fart it out in some way and put it ceremoniously. But I mean, like, it's just doing something, and it doesn't need to be for anyone. It's great if it is, and that's sort of, and collaborating and creative, that's valuable too. But but
exactly.
it doesn't have to be a success, you know.
Just enjoy it. Don't take it. Like don't take life or this thing too seriously, because then you'll end up in a rabbit hole of like it's got to work, it's got to work, it's got to work, and then you'll become angry and bitter, and no one's going to want to talk to you. So, yeah, it's not everything. No, that's good. I love that. And finally, today, what would you say? Try that again. What would you say has been an experience or experiences you've had in your career up to now that you'll never ever forget?
Yeah, I can tell you a quick story on that one. I I had to go on without having like I wasn't in this play. There was Josh, who I'm working with, was doing a play called That Face at the Orange Tree with Neve Cusack and Ruby Stix and Casper Hilton Hill, and it was really brilliant. And I'd seen it on the Thursday, but happened to be at a reunion for Suddenly Last Summer with Josh and a bunch of people in Whitstable on the Sunday. And then Josh got a phone call saying that Sarita Gabnoy, who was playing one of the characters in the show, had fractured her foot, and had to was out. And he just turned to me and was like, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And I was like, "Nothing. What are you doing?" And he was like, can you be in my play?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so I
Oh,
turned up, about 2 p.m. at the theatre, had 3 hours rehearsal, went on the book that night, ended up doing the week. And then on the Wednesday or something, the producers came up and were like, "Do you think you could put the script down?" And it's like, "Yeah, okay." So just put it down. It was like the most terrifying but brilliant sort of thing. I think if anyone ever gets the opportunity to do it, they should absolutely do it, because it's sort of bonkers. And also kind of just makes you go, "Oh yeah, we can just do it." Right? Like we rehearse and do all of that, but we can also, if needs be, we all have that toolbox in us that just allows you to sort of make some quick choices and get out there and just do it. And it's really fun and alive, and it was great, and they were just amazing, these other actors in the play. And yeah, it was such a great experience. I will never forget doing that, as long
wow.
as yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it was great.
that sounds incredible. I mean, scary and wonderful at the same time.
Yeah, which so often go hand in hand, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do things that scare you a bit more
Yeah.
in life in general. It's like, yeah, no,
So,
it was great.
yeah, I remember reading somewhere if it scares you, then it's probably the right thing to do.
Mm.
And we were talking today, like, right, we're at the top of today, about when you hear the audience coming in on the first night, and you're going, "Wait, hang on, no, I didn't sign up for this."
I don't want to hear it.
You're
And then
like,
you get out there and you're like, "Oh, it's not so bad. It's
"Oh, it's
only
not
a
so bad."
play. It's only a play. No
Yeah,
one's going to die." That's a big catchphrase of mine that I like to have before I go on stage. No one's going to die.
yeah,
Um, no one has yet, although it could happen. But it's like that thing, right? Your body goes so like, and actually, it's a play. It's gonna be fine. Yeah,
it's
no one's
fine.
gonna die, literally.
No one's gonna die. It's fine. They might pretend to, but not actually
Yes.
going to. Yeah, if you're playing Banquo, then I think you might be in for a rough ride. But
Yeah. I'm going to die. I'm going to die.
yeah, or Desdemona as well.
True. True. Maybe it's not the best catchphrase, but
Yeah,
it's a job.
yeah. If
Oh,
you're in Shakespeare, you're probably not going to get a huge amount of stage time, or maybe you do, but you'll still end up dead at the end, like Othello, or Macbeth, or so many others. I don't know. I can't miss them all the top of my head.
yeah,
But,
it's like 50-50 with women in Shakespeare. It feels like you're either going to die or you're just like a whore. It's
yeah,
like general.
yeah, or lose your mind.
Sometimes both.
Yeah, or do some weird sleepwalking like Lady Macbeth or something. I don't know.
Yeah, or get your hands and feet cut off like
Lavin
Titus. Yeah, Lavinia.
Lavinia, yeah, yeah. God, I remember seeing that actually at the Barbican thing back in 2017, and the girl who did it, I think her name was Hannah. She obviously, what happens with her happens off stage. You don't see it, but for anyone who doesn't know the play, she gets attacked in the most horrific way. She gets raped. I don't know how many times over, but she gets her hands cut off, her feet cut off. Her
Find that out.
tongue cut out and everything. I remember the actress who played it. She had this amazing bodysuit on where you saw like the hands clearly been severed, the foots, everything. The makeup was really cool, and of course her tongue was out. Now she can't make any noises. I remember it's just. I think I mentioned this last time to Sarah as well. Is that just her stillness and everything of just. She was just sat there, just recovering from what God knows what that feels like.
Yeah.
But it just has simple, subtle movements of her just looking down at the floor and then so looking at the audience like this, just going,
Yeah.
and you're going, holy
Yeah.
shit. Yeah. I remember sitting in my seat and I've turned cold. I was just like, fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I had a similar experience at the Globe with Tyson Andronicus, and it was sort of, and I was in Groundling sort of
yeah, the
stood
groundlings, yeah.
and just sort of, she was right there, and I was like, oh my God, this is,
Yeah.
yeah. We've gone very dark tonight. Sorry, maybe
Yeah.
it's doing it in the evening. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
sparkling.
It's the pathetic fallacy, isn't it?
Quite light-hearted, really. I promise.
Oh yeah, no. But we picked some, some heavy plays, but yeah, do some comedy next time. No, but yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, Katie, yeah, let's definitely do this again sometime. I'd love to have you back, and good luck with the run of Ragdoll, by the way. Yeah, and I'm sure it's going to be a great show, guys. Go get your tickets now, and yeah, link down below. Go and do that. But yeah, no, good luck with that, and thank you so much for your time this evening, and thank you for sharing your evening with me and talking all things Shakespeare and Tennessee Williams. It's been absolutely fantastic. I really appreciate it. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely.
No, it's absolutely my pleasure. My pleasure's all mine. If you just hang on, I'll finish the recording and we'll have a tiny debrief and you can shoot off. So, wow, brilliant stuff. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been the Uncensored Critic podcast. I'll be back very, very soon. And Katie, thank you.
Thank you.